Here I am in the home of Nello, overlooking where I train. George Swarter's joined us and David Whitmer's joined us. Fantastic. I'm going to get a little bit more light. This is pretty good. Very soft light. I'm overlooking at the moment. And Willem had a great race. Again, it wasn't the race that we wanted, flat water. But going into the race, as you were the only people that I actually told that I was fairly badly injured and didn't really paddle for 5 weeks, which is an interesting test that you can actually paddle at MAF and just do technique. I never got my heart rate for 5 weeks over 115. So that's a good reflection. Welcome, Nilson Martins. Here it's 10 o'clock in Porto, a very foggy evening, so that's why it's pretty chilly here. I have, interesting enough, just so don't let me forget about the RCF, but I've got a person that's never seen a surf ski, never knew surf ski existed until he looked at one YouTube, and then he's decided to take up the sport. He's 51 years old, and I've had him for 2 full days, and funny enough, the first 1.5 days, all he was in a swimming pool learning the drills. And today he surfed some waves in a 510, and he never fell out once because he knew how to brace. And then Terry Knowles, welcome from all the way from southern Australia. And today he finally grasps how the stroke worked. And the stroke works with your big muscles, not your small muscles. But it is very difficult for him, 51 years old, taking on a new sport, but loving it. Flew all the way from London, and he's got houses in Bali, London, and LA. And he thought this is the best sport. He used to be a windsurfer 30 years ago. But digressing a bit. So getting back to the World Surf Ski Champs, as I know, I didn't have the best thing. I thought I was going to really kill it. So the first thing that happened when I was there, all I did was, again, just concentrate on technique. Never pushed my heart over 110, 115, so just did a technique session. Obviously, Willem was there and he participated. You can see I never went hard. I pushed myself for a few beats over 130 for about 10 or 15 seconds. But the only thing I could do, because of my rib problem, I only ran, cycled, all at MAF, and then did a few technique sessions. And when I did paddle, I paddled very slowly. I'm talking 110 heart rate, which is, again, it's relative. My 110 heart rate, I can get up to 120 heart rate. I can get up to about 14 kilometers an hour because of my efficient technique. So I went in that race not knowing how I would do. I had my injury on the 15th of August and raced on the 12th of September. So it was very interesting. It's funny, I still had, because I think I was undertrained, I still had confidence thinking about MAF and how it all worked, that I would actually do quite well. People say I did well because I came third. It was a completely dead flat day. I know if there were waves, I would have been right up on the front. I decided not to do the main race because the main race was just brute force because the wind was completely side on. And most people really said it wasn't a downwind. It was basically side wind, a lot of power that you needed to push over. And I thought if I did 2 races, I wouldn't do very well. Will Wilson, good to see you. I hope you you're keeping on losing all your weight that you've taken off. Fantastic. And David Whitmer also his weight. One thing about being in France for the RCF World Championship is that the breakfasts are no good. It's baguettes and not even butter. You have to ask for butter. Baguettes and jam and all the bad things for us. But at the end of the day, getting back to the World Championship, I decided not to do the boss. I was actually dressed, ready to go, and I thought, no, it's just too hard. If I have to do 2 races, I probably would have come in the top 20 in the normal race and in the World Championships, and then the next day I would have been really bad. So reflecting on the race, again, same old race strategy. Made sure I had my last meal at 8 a.m., which was a few eggs, a bit of cheese, and that was it. I had a cup of coffee, and then I had coffee 2 hours before, a little bit of water 2 hours before, and that was it. I knew I was going to do the race no matter what. Jumped on at the start. It was completely, absolutely flat. Willem will tell you about how flat it was. Got on my boat. As normal, I'm very good at my jump start. Jump started and had a fairly good start. Was on the front bunch, sat there, and just picking up waves. Then a little group splintered off, 5 guys, and they were all the 30-year-old guys that were going fast. Normally, as I say, if I hadn't had this injury, I know I would have kept up with them because I was feeling fairly good, and all I concentrated was technique. So I was paddling around the back there of the second group, and then I saw this guy coming on the right-hand side of me going really fast. He happened to be on an Epic GT, which is the most expensive boat you can buy, and he looked like Will, a guy that I know from Perth who's seriously fast. So I went straight onto him, jumped on his wave, and I was paddling along with him, and he said, no, it's Stefan Rudant from the area, from Brittany. I said, okay, that's good. And he was going really well. We were catching everybody. I jumped on his wave, and all I did all the time was just concentrate on technique. Every time I think, okay, let me just make sure I'm pulling my bum off the seat. Okay, let me make sure I'm keeping my elbows down. Let me make sure all these things are just going through my head all the time. And I was just hanging on there, and I thought, okay, he's going to take me right to the front. And he kept on turning right, which means that we were going a little bit off the course. And Hank McGregor, before the race, told me, no, you mustn't go too far out. It doesn't actually help because when you surf down, not that there was any wind, he found himself that he was losing time. So, but the interesting thing, I just stayed with him. I started at a 2:16 paddle length, and after about 3 kilometers, I changed it to 2:15. And then when I saw him, every time he stopped for juice or something, I changed it. And I actually changed my paddle 4 times. So I went from 2:16, 2:15, 2:14, 2:13 for the last bit. And I just stayed with him. And again, it was just basic unlucky. I thought he was going to just keep on going harder because I had no power to go on my own. And if I'd gotten a little bit of faster person, I think I would have done a little bit better. But I stuck with my guns. I stayed with him the whole time, and he pulled me for about 16 kilometers, and then I realized, sure, he's slowing down. And then I just went straight past him, concentrated on my technique, and finished the race. And again, the one thing I hate about a surf ski race is that has running in it. I was really cross. In fact, Adrian Crouch from England overtook me on the run-up, and he got second in the over 55s, and I got third, which is, in the end of the day, I can't complain, but I would have rather have the race finish in the water, and I would have ended up coming second to my brother Herman, who had a good race. I think he came 11th or 12th, and I came 18th out of all the Masters, which is not too bad. The bottom line is, least I actually paddled. A lot of people, in fact, Nello, whose house I'm at the moment, had the same injury, and it took him 2 months before he could actually paddle again. So 5 weeks, I'm back training again. I've got, for Will hasn't joined, I've got Rupert Mika that's never seen a surf. He didn't even know what a K1. I took him around the Nello factory today. He was blown away, and he couldn't believe how narrow the boats were. But the bottom line is, he stuck to his guns. He came over here. He wanted private lessons for 3 days, morning and afternoon, and we've done sort of 2.5 hours every morning, and then 1 to 2 hours in the afternoon. Tomorrow's his last day, and he's managed to surf waves, managed to understand that this sport is all about using your core. And the more I think about it, the more I get upset when I see paddlers in the club that I paddle out of. The techniques are so shocking, and I just know that they're using brute force and no power, and the only thing you should be using is your brain and your skill and perfecting your technique to make you go faster. Another interesting thing was, again, because I had that atrial fibrillation, now it's like 2 years ago, the one thing I did, and I stuck to it as usual, is that I never had any alcohol before the race, because that raises your heart rate, and if it raises your heart rate, that just puts you in a bit of predicament. So I was 2 days with no alcohol, which was quite nice. And now I'm enjoying the fruits of life. As I said, I'm drinking a Prosecco from Galicia. Not Prosecco, Cava from Galicia, from Spain. A really good drop. Nello loves his champagne and wine, and we are developing some new Nello Surfskis, which are going to really change the whole surfski market. Again, a lot of things in life happen by chance, and by chance we stumble across something that we will launch next January, and I'm sure everybody will be very excited to hear. They're faster, they're more stable, and these are the things that just happen by chance. Everybody says, "Oh, you just go and get a computer." No, spend time on a boat, spend a lot of time on the boat, test it, try it, work out different things, and you'll definitely get a better outlook of what works in the ocean, what works downwind, what works on the flat water, because as our sport is everything, not just downwind. One of the questions I had during the week, just so I can answer it, from Corin Smith. She's doing a lot of paddling and improving fantastically well, like most of my clients, and I thank them for participating and giving me feedback all the time. I love the feedback, and as you know, I'm fairly fast at answering questions anytime. Does keto and MAF have to work together? No. And the answer is, as I said, keto is a different thing. Keto is your body in ketosis, and MAF is training at sub-maximum. MAF stands for maximum aerobic function, and that's different from what you're eating, but they work well together. MAF, or MAF, or full methadone method, actually works well at that heart rate because it burns the most amount of fat. So your body gets used to fat adapting better at those heart rates. When you're anaerobic, you start burning some problems. And funny enough, I met a guy called Michael McCormick. You might know him. He's a masters paddler that got injured in a motorcycle accident, and he said, Oscar, I'm losing so much. I'm doing MAF, I'm doing keto, but I'm losing so much muscle, and I'm training so hard, and I'm struggling. That is the problem. Rather relax. Go to the MAF method, relax, be fresh every day, be fresh all the time. And if you have to, in our age, over 50, if you have to do a sprint session once a week, maybe push it to twice a week. But again, once a week at maybe an hour, and then the second time maybe 30 minutes. That's all you need. Don't push your body, especially at our age. Just keep on working at nice, slow paces, concentrating on technique, and you will go faster, I promise you. And from here, next week I head to the Fish River Marathon, where I paddle with my brother Herman and a K3 and a guy called Andy Leith. And normally we are, as I say, 55, 56, and 57, and we are right on the heels of the 21-year-olds. It's not because we are young and stupid, it's because we use our brains and keep it MAF and do the whole race. From there, I'll go to the Shaw and Partners Financial Services, the doctor, and I hope to be really fit for that, and I hope there's some wind so I can show real form and real speed again. It's been a bit of a setback, but sometimes these setbacks help you. It just puts your body back, it lets you rest. So never think of, there's always a positive out of anything that happens in life, and really concentrate on that. I had this rib, they said 6 weeks. I didn't take in any anti-inflammatories like the people said I should. All I did is ate really well, did a few 2-day fasts and 3-day fasts, and even now I'm doing 1 meal a day now. And then when my guests leave, and then I'll do 2 or 3 day fasts, just to make sure my body is very, very low on inflammation. Okay, I didn't get many other questions, and can you believe it's already 20 past 10 here? Those guys listening, don't hesitate to type and give your questions. And remember, I'm here for you. Whether you put it on Facebook, whether you send me a private message, I'm here to answer your questions. And after all the years of experience, I know I can help you, and I know I've had rave reviews from most of you guys, and most people are really enjoying the training plans and the feedback all the time. I hope my next podcast will be from the Fish River in the middle of the Karoo Desert, and we'll pick a good time. Let me know if you again want any information on anything. As I say, I'm an open book, and even if you don't ask me, I'm going to tell you how to improve, as Willem will attest to. Let's have a look. Okay, George, everybody's happy. Any topics you would like me to discuss now, just type them on there, and I can answer them. Interesting how your body adapts. It's funny, I was having physio in Porto, my physio, for 1.5 hours, just so those people know that this is a really good place to live. For 1.5 hours, he was charging me €15. So work that out. Very inexpensive and really friendly, trying to help. And that's what the medical fraternity is like in Portugal. But what he says is, and your body really works this out, is that I had a rib injury in the front, and in the back compensates. So I feel a little bit of pain, but nothing that's going to hinder me in the future. And again, you've got to listen to your body. All my training plans, I always end up listen to your body. Don't push it too hard. Rather be undercooked than overcooked, because if you're overcooked, you can't do anything. And maybe that rib injury, I was just training too hard. Basically, I was doing like a 1 hour cycle or run in the morning early, and then a 1 hour technique session, and then a 40-kilometer paddle in the afternoon. All at MAF, all comfortable, but maybe it was just too much for my body. And my body said, no, that's too much. I'm going to collapse. So listen to your body. It's always got some positives for you. And keep on training. But again, remember, practice makes permanent. And that actually came from Willem Prinsloo's wife, who said that. Everybody thinks practice makes perfect, but practice makes permanent. So practice the correct stuff, and you will go faster, and you will have more fun, and you will improve. With that, guys, no questions. And again, you've got to get your mates to come and say, hey, ask a few questions. That there's no questions that's silly enough that I can't answer. Questions means that you're caring and you want to improve. With that, it's a little bit early. Good to see all you guys. Remember, the next podcast will be probably from the fish, which will be next weekend, and maybe a weekend will be working better. And it's also World Cup rugby time. I think South Africa is playing New Zealand, Terry, not Australia, and England. Adam Thorpe has arrived. Where are you from, Adam? Adam Thorpe, all the way, I think, from Australia. I actually don't know. But World Cup rugby is around the corner. Now my whole goal is to focus on the fish, just to finish it, just having fun, getting a good base, and then the Sean Partners Financial Services Doctor. And I'll be doing all the races leading up to that. So hopefully everything goes well, and I managed to peak at the right time. At my age and our age, most of the people are older, about peaking, the only thing, don't have too much rest and don't to have a too long a peak. At our ages, within 1 or 2 or 3 days, our muscles start degenerating. So you shouldn't have a long peak, a long taper. Really have a short taper. Basically, I train and practice right up to a day before. And then even on the day before, I go over race strategy and the plan and where I'm going to finish. Don't have long tapers. Long tapers don't help you. Maybe when you're young, and you're pushing yourself so hard. But when you're on a MAF tape, a MAF kind of program, you don't have to have a long taper. In fact, how many times have you gone out there and you think, oh, I'm feeling a bit tired, and you do your best time? Because it's in the middle of your training, you're doing well. Tapering, there's been a lot of science about it, and I know after 40, you don't really need it, and I don't do it much either. I'd rather paddle and concentrate on my technique and do that. Tommy Yonley, where are you from? Joining a bit late. Pity, as I say, it's normally a half an hour podcast, and you will get a copy of this. All the information will be emailed to you so that you can listen to it afterwards and hopefully learn more. But don't forget, send your questions in. The more questions you ask, the more you learn, the more I can answer them on any subject. Either the Wi-Fi is not working too well here, but doesn't seem to be any questions pouring in. Tommy, sorry you're only joining us so late, but you will get a copy of this live podcast. I've gone over my first time surf ski client, who's here actually from London, but he's got a house in LA and Bali, and the ICF World Championships, which, by the way, wasn't run very well. They had like 4 different venues. Everything was in French and nobody wanted to speak English, so it wasn't the best. I've been going there for 11 years now, and I've never had a bad organized race, and this was particularly bad. So hopefully next year, the World Championships in Portugal, you don't want a week like this where it's just fog and no wind, but most of the time there's a lot of wind, and where there's a lot of wind, there's a lot of sun, and the supporters can have fun, and the paddlers can have fun as well. If there are no more questions, I think I will sign off till next time. Thanks for your support, and remember, I'm only an email, a phone call, I don't care, away, and keep on training, but remember, train smart, not hard. Cheers, I hope you enjoyed that all and learned something.